fiasco. So what we're going to talk about is all the components that are on a heater for the most part, all the safety valves, the safety controls, a little bit about how does a water heater work, but we're going to go through most of the components so you know what the components are. Okay, so we will start out by saying, okay, do you know what a tank is made of? So this is like a sheet metal skin, and it's over in some insulation, but the tank itself is made out of steel. Okay, it's made out of steel. However, steel with water is not a good combination, so water will attack the steel and corrode it and rot it out. Okay, so what they do is they line the tank, and you'll see a lot of times manufacturers say glass lined. Glass is a loosely used term, or they will say vitreous glass, which vitreous glass means it's like glass. It's glass-like, but it's not really glass. It's porcelain. Basically, it's like it's. But they put a coat of porcelain on so that the steel is not exposed to the water to begin with. Okay, it has protection. Okay, so these are both gas water heaters. Okay, and how can we tell? So we have gas heaters and electric heaters. How can we tell the difference? Very simply. Okay, a gas water heater is going to have this guy on top of it. Okay, a vent. Okay. The other way you can tell if the gas is if the control valve like this is outside of the heater. Electric heaters will be inside. It's not exposed. Okay. So a gas heater, water heater will have a vent on it, like this sheet metal vent. Okay. And why does it have to have a vent? Because when we burn gas to heat water, we create carbon monoxide, amongst other bad things. So you don't want to be in that environment. So if a gas water heater has to have a vent so that the noxious gas, the poisonous gas, you get it out of the building. Okay, so it always, I don't know if it's gas or electric, but does it have a sheet metal pipe on the top of it going up? Yep, okay, gas. Cool. Cool with that? Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is water connectors. So this water heater is just like a faucet. There's hot side and cold side. Right? So this is cold and this is hot. Generally, it's always cold on the right and hot on the left. And that kind of goes for everything. Cold's always on the right. So what did we learn the other day about any fixture in the house? It has to be, you have to be able to shut it off on its own. Okay, so every water heater by code should have a valve on top of it that will shut the water supply off to that particular fixture. So this is the water heater that you have in your house, whatever. And if you want to shut the hot water off to the house, we have just shut the hot water off to the house. Okay? Simple as that. There's always going to be, by code, that valve is supposed to, some sort of valve is supposed to be there. Could be an old handle, round handle one, which you turn. Anything in the last 20 years is going to have a valve. Quarter turn valve, just like the angle stops we talked about the other day. Simple stuff. That's off. It's in line, it's on, that's off, that's on. Okay. So now we turn the hot water off to the house. So if a customer calls in and they say, my water heater is leaking, what can I do? Well, the easiest thing is let's shut it off. So if we shut it off, now what we've done is we've taken the pressure off of that heater. We should relieve it, so we should go open a faucet somewhere or do one of these things here, which we'll talk about in a bit. But so that will take the pressure off of that water, so it's, instead of being at 70 psi inside that tank, now it's just going to be a 40-gallon tank with water standing in it, and there's no pressure on it, so the chances of it leaking, it's going to leak less probably. It'll still probably, maybe leak, depends how bad the leak is. The other thing you can do is you can drain it, which is here. You just hook a garden hose up to that and drain the water out. You have to.
But it has to have a little handle, right?
Yeah, there'll be a handle on it. Okay, but you have to Okay, how many people have shot a beer in their life? You have, I know. So what's the idea behind shooting a beer? Is that we open up and then we have another hole that will force...
Kind of offended. You've only done it once.
You're young. You would have done it. Okay? So, because if we don't break the vacuum inside this tank, like we shoot a beer, it would glug out because it's in a vacuum, so it will just come out like... But if we open something else and break the vacuum, out it comes. Just like when you shot that beer last night. Okay? Cool with that? Then the other, we should shut the gas up. We'll talk about that more next week with the gas. But so basically, biggest thing is just take the pressure off the tank. It's going to be, and then at least we know there's only going to be another 30 gallons of water. If it does leak, it's contained, rather than now it's leaking as much water as it wants to leak. Okay. So then the other thing we can talk about quickly is rating plates, which is here on this heater and it's here on this heater. So every water heater has to have a rating plate on it. And it tells you the model number of the heater. Okay. So it'll tell you the manufacturer's model number. It will tell you the gallon capacity of the heater. So if they call in, they say, my water heater's leaking. Do you know how big that water heater is? I don't know. Well, if you go to the rating plate, and every heater has it, it's going to be right in front, it'll tell you gallon capacity 30 gallons. This one is going to be gallon capacity 48, which is 50 gallons. Okay? So it'll tell you that, tell you how big it is. It'll also tell you, we don't get into too much with residential heaters, we don't get into it too much. It'll tell you the BTU rating. Does anyone know what a BTU is? Come on, really?
Thermal unit, something thermal unit.
Yes, it's British thermal unit. So what it is basically, for what we care about, is how fast does it cook water. Okay? So residential heaters, we don't really care about BTUs. It's 35,000, 38,000, whatever. We don't care. Commercial water heaters, we care greatly about BTUs because commercial water heaters can be, we have 76 gallon, 91 gallon, 100 gallon. But the key thing is how many BTUs does it have? Because we have 100 gallon, 80,000 BTUs, that heater's about $2,000. We have 100 gallon, 400,000, that thing's 10 grand. Same size, same capacity, looks the same. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, kind of, sort of. But how fast does it cook gas? It significantly changes the price. So BTUs, only when we're talking about commercial water heaters, we want to know how many BTUs. Residential heaters, we don't care. The other thing on the rating plate, which is super important, and the only reason we ever go to a rating plate, it'll give you the serial number of that water heater. And what the serial number tells you originally is when was that water heater made. Okay? So by rule of thumb says the first 4 characters, normally numbers, of a serial number will tell you month and year of manufacture. So if they want to know if it's under warranty, that's what. So they go, I don't know if it's under warranty. What's the serial number? Serial number is, this is RULN 1205. Stop. That's all I need to know. That was made in December of 2005. This one, the serial number is 0417. This was made in April of this year. Okay? All I need to know. The rest of the numbers are just manufacturing numbers, and they know which line and which run it was on or whatever. But so the serial number for every water heater will tell you when it was made. So is it under warranty? Give me the serial number, I can tell you. Boom, got it. Cool. Cool with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about inside. So inside of every water heater, there are 2 things that we don't see but are inside the heater, and they serve a very important purpose. And one of them is this guy, which is anode rod. Okay? And an anode rod is, so this is just it's a steel, it's what's actually magnesium. It's inside, it just sits in the tank. Okay? And what an anode rod does, it's made out of magnesium, and magnesium is softer than steel, and it is more attractive to contaminants than steel. So the anode rod is, for lack of a better term, the sacrificial lamb of the water heater. So water is corrosive, and water is corrosive by nature. Water is corrosive. Okay, it's going to try to destroy metal if it can, it's going to corrode something if it can corrode. Okay, so a water heater comes with an anode rod, and is therefore so that the corrosive action of that water will go after this thing and destroy this before it looks for steel to destroy. It would much rather go after this.
And how do you see it come out in the water?
You don't.
You don't?
Well, you do. If you looked at, like, if you ever got to the very bottom of this tank and saw what was in there, first of all, you would not be very comfortable taking a shower. It gets pretty gross. It does. The bottom of heaters that's where everything sits, right? All of it settles. It is. I could show you one time what's in the bottom of a water heater. You will not be happy.
I have a cycles at home, so you can go.
You're good, right? No, it gets pretty. I mean, that's where everything settles, and it gets pretty.
Yeah.
It gets pretty. But the way it's designed, it's fine. But it's like so this is in there so that this corrodes, so the tank is protected for as long as we can protect it. As long as this thing is getting eaten up, the tank is fine. So then we sell on water heaters, we sell warranty extension kits. Okay? Right?
Right.
So what do you think that is?
An extra one?
It's another one of these. It's all we're doing. Okay? So we're taking we're taking the hot water side of it out. We dump that thing. It's one about half this size, but it has the water connector on it. We dump it in so the water can come through the hole, so the water can come up through it. So that's all we're doing is we're adding more magnesium into that tank, so we have more protection, corrosive protection by doing that. Okay. So water heater manufacturers, if you could extend, if you were very proactive with changing these, you could extend tank life by changing these things. Kind of, sort of, yeah, sure, why not? If you were staying on top of it, but most people don't. But you had the extra one, and we wouldn't. These are kind of hard to get out, so we kind of like don't go there. We just do something and just add one there. Okay, cool. All right. The other thing inside that tank, which you don't see, is called a dip tube, and this is just a plastic. Okay. Okay. So what's a dip tube for? So, come on, don't go there, Red. So, okay, dip tube goes on the cold side inlet of the water, of the supply. So the cold's coming in and it goes into this dip tube. Okay, and the reason it's there is we want the cold water to go to the very bottom of the tank. Okay? It has to go to the bottom. That's where the burner is. That's where that's where the heat source is. So we want the cold water to go to the bottom all the time. So we just use this tube. This is all internal, so the water comes in. So the water, when you get water into this tank, it's coming out right here. Okay. So then, how do we get hot water? So the way it works when we want hot water. So the way you picture it is, okay, this is coming from the cold is coming from the city. It's under pressure, 80 pounds of pressure. Okay. And over here we have a faucet. Okay. So this is pressurized, right? So when we open a faucet, what happens is this pressure forces down, the water comes out of the bottom of that thing, and really what's happening is the water is being pushed out the top of the tank from that pressure, and it's pushed over to that faucet. Okay? The pressure source is coming in, so it's pushing it out of the top of the heater. So that's why it's very important that the cold water goes to the bottom so that all the water up here stays hot, and that's what you get. Okay? So several years ago, in the mid-90s, there was one manufacturer who was making these things.
Hello?
And all the water heater manufacturers were using their product, and they had a product defect, which this thing would disintegrate over time in water. Over 2 or 3 years, this thing would just fall apart. So, and it was a mess because no one knew who had what heater, and there's no record. I mean, they couldn't, not like a car, you could issue a recall notice. So what you would get is just people would say, I don't have any hot water. So if this thing wasn't there, so let's look at, so if we had cold water coming in and we weren't going all the way to the bottom, and hot water comes out right here, so cold comes in here and hot comes out right here. If we weren't bringing it to the bottom, we asked for hot water, and what would happen is we'd get cold water really fast.
Yeah.
You would get very limited hot water because cold water is just going to come and bleed into the water. It would get cold really fast. So that's why we got to bring it to the bottom so that there's no interaction. Interaction of cold and hot is way down here and it's away from where we want it. Okay, so that's what that's what would happen with. We would go out and then this thing would disintegrate and end up in your faucets and people wouldn't have clothes. So if you didn't have this, you would probably get 3 gallons of hot water. And then it would start getting cool and then it would get cold. Okay, it would just be nothing.
And I'm sorry, why, how does it disintegrate? Why does it disintegrate?
It doesn't. They had the manufacturer who provided these for every water heater manufacturer in the United States had defective product. And so for about 3 years, 2-3 years in the mid '90s, it was a disaster. We don't see it much anymore, but and people would just call up and say, I got white stuff in my faucets and I got no hot water. Yeah, you remember? Yeah, you were around. It was crazy. Okay. So then the other thing you might hear about water heaters that claim they are self-cleaning is something you don't see it too much anymore, but they probably some manufacturers still probably say they're self-cleaning. Okay. So all they do is on this tube, on the very bottom, they put they bring it down and then they make it into a circle, and all they're doing is where that comes into the bottom of the heater, they're just stirring it. They're just spinning the water and they're hoping that the debris comes off the bottom of the tank. That's all they're doing. Is it self-clean?
Comes out of the shower.
Yeah, right? Okay, so that's all they're doing. Okay, cool that? Okay, so now let's talk about.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask all the
about
questions you want.
pressure?
Yes.
Speaking about the pressure, how it goes down and then it pushes it out.
Yep.
Now I know we get a lot of calls about water pressure.
Yep.
Is everything have its own little pressure it's on, or is there like one big brain of water pressure where it sends it to the whole house?
The whole house should be the same water pressure.
Okay.
Yes, there's one. So you bring water into a house, you regulate if you need. You regulate pressure, and then it just disperses through the house, all at the same.
Okay.
So, but you can have, so if you have, say like, I only have bad pressure at this faucet, or bad pressure at this shower, it's the shower, or it's the faucet.
It's a valve, probably a valve
right
in there.
Yeah, aerator, the end of the faucet is plugged up, something's plugged up, the inside of the valve is plugged up. So that's what we always, so people call it, I have real low water pressure. Okay, so we go out, okay, what are you talking about? Do you have it everywhere, or do you have, just at the shower? Oh, okay. So it's the whole house, we got one thing. Oh, it's just this picture.
And if it is the whole house, what would that?
Well, the regulator's bad, there's a reason, something's plugging it.
Okay.
Cool?
Sorry, kind of off, but yeah.
No, it's okay, cool. Okay, so let's talk about, really quick about gas valves. So, this is a gas valve, this is a gas valve, this is a gas valve. And, okay, so this is inside the water. Okay, this is a temperature sensing device. So this is just sitting in the water and it senses the temperature of the water. You have settings on the front, hot, warm, vacation. Okay, so hot is as hot as it get. How hot is that? I don't know. It's hot. Most people go somewhere warmish, wherever. Okay. Vacation mode basically says I'm not going to heat, but I'm not going to turn the pilot off. So if you go on vacation, you turn down vacation, the thing generally won't heat while you're gone. When you come back home, turn it up to whatever you want, heats. Okay. A water heater will heat whenever it needs to heat. So this thing is in there, and it doesn't matter 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the morning. Whenever that water goes below whatever temperature you want it to be, it's going to heat that tank up and get the tank as hot as you want it to be. And then it's going to shut off and sit there and wait. And then the next time that water cools off, here it comes again. Okay.
Whether you use it or not.
Whether you use it or not. So if you go on vacation for a week, you've probably heated your water heater every day, whether you're home or not. Okay. So that's why the vacation mode is there. So basically it says, I'm not going to turn this off, but I'm not going to heat. I would guess it probably says it's 50 degrees or 60 degrees, whatever. It's not, whatever. So it doesn't turn anything off, though. Okay? Okay, gas valve, got it? So it just senses. So, it's an interesting question about that. So, how hot do you think your water is at home?
Oh. I'm not sure.
Okay, so like I have a tankless water heater at home, and I can tell it exactly what temperature I want. I can by 5 degrees. So I have my water at home is 110 degrees, which in my shower is fine. Can you stand in 110 degree water? Not for long. It's okay. That's hot, right? So what happens to skin at 120 degrees?
Ooh. Good part.
It burns. Okay. You'll 120 degrees. You'll burn skin. Okay. So here's the dilemma about water heaters. If you have a tank, I have 50 gallons of water here at 120 degrees, what's happening inside that tank? It's growing bacteria.
Oh, okay.
Okay? It's growing bacteria. So it's safe. I'm not, I got it one and it's about 119 degrees. It's probably not going to burn my skin. I could get close, but but you're growing bacteria. At 125 degrees, bacteria will not live in water. At 125 degrees, you kill bacteria. It will not live. So, where should we have our water heater at? So 125 is safe. We won't grow bacteria, but it could burn your skin. So right. So what do you do, right? What's the $1 million question? How should I handle this? Generally, though, you have to always remember if it's 125 degrees here, if your shower is 40 feet over the way, the whole time it's traveling out that pipe, it's cooling off. Okay, so by the time it gets out there, it's probably 118 degrees or whatever, right? So, but it's one thing you got to be so you have to be kind of careful about how hot water is because you can burn yourself if it's too hot. We've all done it. It can get hot, right? And these things are not. This is kind of like dummy logic. Like I said, there's a reason they don't put a temperature, they don't put a number on front because it's like we don't really know. It's how hot do you want it? Well, I like mine at right there, perfect. And then these things in water get corroded and they get less sensitive. So, what is a good temperature? You have a good setting today in 3 years. It's not a good setting anymore. We have to turn it up more because it's not sensing the temperature, or we get turned down probably because it's not sensing the hotness. Right? Cool.
Yeah. I mean, we mix the hot water with cold water when we're in the shower, so even if it comes out hot,
Yeah, but
still
you
make
right.
it.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, really, normal. I mean, if you.
Typically, that's what should we do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think.
That's how we don't grow bacteria, right?
But
Because we keep
right,
it at
right,
a hot temperature,
right.
even though it's hot enough.
Right,
for the
but you
skin,
got to
we're cooling it down
So,
with the.
but if you got kids and they get in the hot, and then you just got to be something to be careful about. Test it, see where you're at. But yes, and people are surprised. They think, they think that water's hot. No, it's not hot. 110, you can't stand in it, right? So what's the maximum temperature of a jacuzzi? Now, 104 degrees, and it's hot. You can used to be 107, and you can trick them up to 107. I can tell you how, but I won't tell you right now. But 107 is like, that's hot. After a little while, it's hot. 110.
On bacteria.
Right. 110, 100. I mean, if you stand in the shower 110, 112 degrees, good luck. It's hot. That is like crazy hot. So, but you're mixing it. If you measured your temperature, it's probably what it is. 110 at the most, I would bet. Okay, so when we put tankless into people, like, well, I want it at 130. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can't. You die in that stuff. Okay. All right. We're cool with that.
Got it.
All right. A couple other things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 2 safety items on a water heater, and one of them you've probably heard about, and that is a thermocouple. You heard it? Okay. You know what a thermocouple. You've heard of a thermocouple.
I've heard it a lot.
Okay. So most people don't know what it is. So a thermocouple. This guy right here is this guy right here. It's a thermocouple. Okay. It's connected to the gas line right here. Okay. Thermocouple. Okay. So the way a thermocouple works, it is connected like this into the gas line. Okay. So what, may you ask, is the purpose of a thermocouple? Okay. So it is a safety device. So you've seen a pilot light. You've seen a pilot light down in water, you've seen a pilot light, okay, so what a thermocouple does is it sits in the flame of the pilot light like this. This is a pilot light, thermocouple, okay. So what a thermocouple does, inside of a thermocouple there are two metals, don't ask me what they are, that when they are together, touching, and get hot to a degree, so this gets to about 500 degrees roughly, it creates a little bit of electricity, just a little bit. Actually, probably like a half a volt, I think, is what it does, okay? So, this is a pilot light. This is a pilot light on every water heater in the world. As we stand today, that's exactly what it looks like. The pilot light is just burning away, waiting for something to happen, but it's heating up that thermocouple at all times, keeping that thermocouple hot, so that it's hot enough that it sends an electrical message to our gas valve. Gas valves are always closed. There's no gas ever going to flow through this valve right now. It's not possible unless something is saying, I have a little bit of electricity. I have a little bit of electrical charge in there that opens the valve. Okay? So, this is hooked up and that is heating up. There's a little bit of electricity and that gas valve says, oh, I've got a little bit of electricity. I'm going to open up and I'm going to let gas through here. Okay? So, as long as that thermocouple is working and is hot at about 500 degrees, like that, gas will flow through this valve. And it will, okay? So, someone comes along and blows out the pilot light, and now this thing starts to cool off. What happens? The gas stops. Because it knows there's no flame over there, okay? So I can't let any more gas in there, because if I allow gas in there, what's going to happen? It's not going to burn, it's just going to build up. Okay? You got a quizzical look on your face.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go again, okay? So there's no gas going to come through this valve, okay, at any time, unless I create electricity and open the valve, and that valve will open up and it will allow gas to go through. Okay? As long as this thing is 500 degrees, whatever.
It's a safety reason.
Safety. Okay?
Okay.
So this, as long as your pilot light is lit and it's heating up that thermocouple, it's going to have gas, and the water heater will work. Okay? So if it stays, like that valve is open, it's allowing gas to go through as long as this is happening. If I take away the heat, I take away the electricity, this valve will close and say, whoop, I can't send any more gas over there. The pilot light is not lit. I can't send gas there. Okay?
Okay.
Because if I do send gas, it's not going to burn.
And what are reasons that the pilot light would go out?
Okay, so,
As far as
well, I mean,
if it's-
in the old days, it could be wind, something like that. There's really, with new heaters, there's really no reason for it to go out. Okay?
I'm trying
Other
to
than
understand the
if
security
this,
measures
if this thing is not working right.
Okay.
Okay, this thermocouple is not sending the electrical message to the gas valve. So nowadays it's very difficult for a pilot to go out because it's not exposed to wind anymore because we'll talk about that in a minute. Everything's sealed up. There's really no reason for it to go out unless our sending device is not working right.
Okay.
So if this thing all of a sudden quits working the right way, doesn't send the signal, it's going to shut the gas off. So you know it, right? My water heater won't light. Why? Well, I can tell you why. I can tell you why from here. Okay? Your thermocouple's probably bad. It's not getting gas because it's not supposed to get gas. It is not safe for it to get gas. Cool? So we go change the thermocouple. Okay? This is a $4 part that saves your life on a daily basis. If this wasn't there, if this safety wasn't part of it, we would just and the pilot light went out, the gas would just keep going in there, and we just build and build and build.
Got it.
Right? And then eventually you come home and you light up the Marlboro and, and you end up in your neighbor's house.
Okay.
Okay? Right. Okay, cool. Cool that. So it's just safety.
Yeah.
Just says as long as that pilot light is lit, it's sending a little charge. Everything's cool. But the minute that pilot light goes out, we can't be sending gas over there because something bad's going to happen.
Okay.
Cool. All right, the other safety device on a water heater. It's called a TMP. Okay, T stands for temperature, P stands for pressure. That's what this thing is. That's what this thing is. Okay, so same thing. It protects against catastrophic events, potentially. Okay, so T stands for temperature. So with this valve, this sits in there. Okay, so this is a probe for temperature. Inside is a spring for pressure. Temperature, pressure, temperature, pressure, temperature, pressure. Okay. So so water heaters are very safe as long as all the safety features are on them and no one's done anything crazy to them, like plugged them off or something like that. So this thing will save your life on a daily basis. Goes in there, okay, senses. So there's two catastrophic things we would worry about that could cause this thing to turn into a rocket. One is if the temperature gets too high. So this valve, all it does is sit there, and when it needs to open, it opens to relieve pressure. So something bad's happening inside this tank, I need to open up, it just opens up and allows water to flow out. The one thing is temperature. So it's set, so at 210 degrees, if the water ever got to 210 degrees, this valve would open and spill water.
Okay.
Okay? What happens to water at 210 degrees? It boils, turns to gas, becomes gas. So now we're creating crazy steam, and so if you ever did this and plugged this thing off and turned that gas on and kept it going, the thing would go 600 feet in the air. It would just be a rocket when it blew. So, but that's why these valves are there. So, and I've never seen that. You'll never see that happen. It's possible this gas valve could stick. Yeah. But it has happened. Obviously, it's happened, right? So the other thing is, why would that? The other reason it opens is if the pressure inside that tank gets more than 150 psi. So now it's like, ooh, now we've got way too much pressure in that tank. So this thing will open. And that's something we see a lot. These things will open because of pressure. So now all it will do, it'll just open and it'll just dribble water out. It doesn't come gushing out. It just opens up enough so that takes the pressure off that tank. So you'll see these things, and usually this thing is piped and it's supposed to be piped outside. So it's not, if one of these things is going, you'll see it'll just dribbling out, no big deal, hardly any water. I mean, sometimes it can be a little bit, but mostly it'll just be dribbling out. And people go, oh, this thing must be bad. No, it's doing its job. It's supposed to. So there's something else wrong. There's a reason it's open, because it's open because it has to be open. Okay. Cool with that? So it's just protection.
Okay.
Simply as that. Just protects that tank from becoming. And if you Google water heater explosions, you can see some pretty crazy stuff. And what people will see this thing leaking and they'll go, oh, I'll stop that. I'll just plug it up. They'll put a plug in there, so now there's no relief, right? So then, right? Oh yeah, I mean, people. There was a famous incident here with the El Torito restaurant up in Los Angeles several years ago, but like 8 people got killed because the water heater exploded in the back of the restaurant. And you'll see them. I mean, there's a report of the things that go 500 feet in the air. It's a rocket. Just get enough pressure, and then all of a sudden, off it goes. Okay. So, but we have safety devices to protect. So water heaters are safe, as long as no one's done anything crazy to it. People will call you and worry the thing's going to explode. No, it's not. It's safe. We got safety devices all over it, so it's okay. The last thing we'll talk about really quick is, so you've seen water heaters on a stand, and does it have to be? Yeah? Okay, so why? What's that all about? So here was the original. These things used to be open, so Adriana, you probably lit your own water heater at one point in your life, maybe?
Yeah.
So this used to just be open and you could just pull this little door out and stick a lighter in there and light the pilot and everything was cool. Okay? And that's the way water heaters always were. So but the problem became, the fear became, okay, what if, where are water heaters at? Generally, they're in a garage most of the time. So the idea was, and I'm sure it happened, so you pull your car into the garage and there's a leak in the gas tank, and now we got gas leaking under the garage floor, and we got gas fumes, and all of a sudden the water heater comes on, and we got gas fumes, and we got a problem. Okay, we have an explosion. Okay, so then they came up with the idea, okay, now we'll solve that. We're going to make you put the water heater up in the air, 18 inches off of the floor. So the code was, if you have a water heater in a garage or anywhere where you're storing chemicals or anything that could produce a flammable or explosive vapor, we have to have it off the ground. We have to put it up on a stand to protect ourselves from explosion. So that's what we did forever, right? And then about 10, 12 years ago, they decided that's not good enough. Okay, so then they made, and all heaters are made this way now. So they're made differently the way. So what they did is they sealed this off. I can still open that, but you got to know what you're doing to open it. And I can still get to the pilot light. You just got to know what you're doing to get to it. Okay, but they seal that off, so they don't want. So and then they bring the air in for burning. It comes into the side, and then inside that chamber where that burner is, there's a safety device that if there ever was an explosion, it shuts the gas off instantly. Okay, these are called FVIR heaters, which is flammable vapor ignition resistant incident. I can't explode. Okay, basically what it is. So if there ever isn't, if we got gas near that thing and it did explode, it's going to explode and stop just like that. So it could explode, and it'll probably just go like, but immediately shuts off. Everything gets shut off right now. Okay, so now we're double protected. Okay, so now the code says if you have a water heater in a garage or in an area where you're storing stuff that has flammable vapors or possibly explosive vapors, you need to put it on a stand, unless it's an FVIR water heater, which all water heaters. Residential water heaters are all have to be by law. So do we need to put a water heater on a stand anymore? No, we don't need to put it on a stand. We leave them on stands. A lot of times there's built-in stands and just that's where it goes and it's cool. Or we leave it because if we take it down off the stand, now we have to repipe everything, and it's probably just easier to put back on the stand. So legally it doesn't need to be there anymore. Everything's protected. So they're super safe as far as explosion. So doesn't need to go up there, but we still put it up there most of the time. But we get into a situation, just put it on the floor, how good? No need to. We're safe. So it cannot explode. Okay, it cannot explode here.
As long as you don't plug it if it's.
As long as you don't do anything crazy. And you see it. My God, you see it. It's like, because people don't know what that is. And they go, I'll solve that problem. Yeah, you solved the problem. Do you have a will? Let me give you my name so I'm in it. Because you're going to blow up. Cool?
Yeah.
Any
Sounds
questions?
good.
Any questions? Any questions?
Earthquake strapping is a code
Is
thing?
a code. 100%. We'll talk about that next time, but yes, so why? Again, it's just safety, so we have to have two straps, one on the top third, one on the bottom third. So if we ever have an earthquake, there's really two reasons you have it. Because it's a gas appliance. So if this thing, now we got gas, so we're hoping that we secure the gas. The other thing is, what's inside a 50-gallon water heater?
Very
It's a lot of water.
But it is 50 gallons of water.
Yeah,
And
burning water.
well, it's hot water, but
Flooding.
3 days from now, if we don't have any water to drink,
Oh.
guess what? Oh, I know there's 50 gallons of water we can drink. It's right there. So, I mean, not that you would, but it's another reason you want that tank. You don't want it, it might.
Emergency.
I would've
you
never
drink
thought
water.
that.
Right, I mean, huh?
Oh, we never thought of that.
Right, it's there. You can open it up, you can have, there's water if you need it.
On the
If you're
GE,
desperate.
on
Yes.
the bottom there, you've got two red buttons that look looks like? What's the difference?
On top, on here?
That one and the one on the black thing.
Over here?
With the red
Okay, so
one.
so now,
What's the difference?
because they sealed that, we used to be able to just go in with a lighter and light the
Yeah.
pilot. Now it's a barbecue.
Yeah, okay. So that's the
You
igniter.
want a hamburger? Let's go, right?
Yeah.
So that's the igniter now. So
What's the other red button?
this one? This-
The one on that, is that not a button?
This? Yes. Okay, so on this thing is on-off pilot.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if I want to light the pilot, there's no electricity there, right?
Yeah,
Because the pilot's out.
okay.
So what does this do?
Not working.
Oh,
It says, it overrides the safety. It says,
Releases gas.
it releases gas.
gotcha.
So that you can light the pilot. So when you light the pilot, you have to push that down, light the pilot, wait. You gotta wait for our thermocouple to get hot enough to start sending electricity back to the valve. So usually what you do is you light it and you count to 30, you count to 45, count to 30, 10, 12, whatever you got. Count 30 seconds, let that thing get hot, boom, let it go, it's good. Turn it off.
And you hear it.
Okay.
We good?
Very good. Yeah.
There's,
Awesome.
next week we'll get into more. We're gonna talk about tankless. There's lots. The other thing we can do, we're gonna get HVAC's gonna do some stuff. Restoration's gonna do some stuff. Just general knowledge, simple knowledge. You don't need
Which
to.
is very helpful.
But yeah, it's very helpful, right? I mean,
Yeah.
right. I know Jamie was out. She got out of here. She went over there. She was talking to somebody about an anode rod. She was like,
No
she goes, I know all about those things. Right on.
I know the
Cool.
TMP valve.